Howdy neighbor, it's me, Betty. So I'm out for my evening walk. As you can see, it's a bit late. I ended up not getting out here as early as I had wanted to, by no fault of my own. But you know, that happens sometimes. So it's a nice evening. It is a little hot here in Texas, Fort Worth, Texas. But it's a little windy, a little breezy. It's nice weather for a walk. So I thought I would share about an episode that I had watched that I really, really liked. When we think about the question, what is love? What is love? So there is a old Western. It's called the Virginian. And so many of you may have heard of it before, even watched it. It's a great show. It's with James Drury, who is now since passed. He played the Virginian. So the story goes, in this episode, there was a young lady. She was of marriage. She was of an age to get married, and her family was kind of anxious for her to find a husband. And there was a man who was young and handsome, and he was starting to kind of pay attention to this young lady, and so he would flirt with her, and whenever they would have like community events, he would try to go and speak to her and try to make her laugh and all those things. And she did find him amusing, and she found him cute because he was cute, and he was about her same age. Well, there was also another man, and he was a widow. He was a widow of 2 kids. His kids were kind of elementary school age, and he had lost his wife, and he was raising his children. He was a good man. He had good character. He still continued to raise his children, even though his wife had passed, and even though it was very difficult, for a man by himself to raise children. He was a farmer. He had a good farm, and he was able to make a pretty good living from the farm, selling his crops. So he did well in life. Well, in this episode, she kind of met this widow, and she was impressed by him. She was impressed by his character, and she could tell he was good. He was a good man, and she felt safe around him. His children were well behaved. His children, they were also loved. She could tell they were loved and cared for. So she had a lot of respect for this man. So at a point in the episode, the widow actually asked her to marry him. Right? And so she tells him that she would consider it. Well, so some time passes, and the young man ends up seeing her again at some kind of community event, and he tries to kiss her, and she tells him, and she rebuffs him, and she says, that she has been offered a proposal of marriage. And he was shocked. He was like, by whom? And she tells him, that it was the widow, and he says to her, but you can't do that. You're so young, and he's older. And yes, he was older. He was about 10 years older. So, well, he was probably more like 15 years older than her. And so the young man is like, no, but you're so pretty, and he's old, and, and he has kids, and, it would be so much responsibility, and me, and he was trying to kind of hype himself up. He wanted, to have fun with her, and he wanted to take her out dancing, and he wanted to, do fun things and travel, right? And he was kind of trying to sell her those dreams. And at one point he says to her, but surely you could not love him, right? And so at one point, so then she looks at him and she says, well, what is love? She says, he wants to make a life with me. And that's what love is. So I thought it was so interesting that this, young man was trying to sell her these hopes and dreams of being, living this kind of life of being single and having fun. But thankfully she was, mature enough to know that those were all pipe dreams, right? And she instead went for character. She chose character. And she saw that the widow had better character, right, than this young man did. And she saw that her life would be better with this older man, right, who wanted to marry her and was clear about his intentions with her. The young man was not clear about his intentions with her. And I just thought that was such a beautiful way of her trying to really put her thought processes into words. She says, what is love? Love is someone who is willing to make a life with you. And I thought, what? And it's true. It's simple yet true. And I think for a lot of people, they can get involved in relationships with people that, hey, you might have great chemistry with, right? You might like them a lot, right? Hey, you might even be attached to them. You might even think you love them, right? But that doesn't mean that they're the one for you. That doesn't mean that they're your husband or your wife, right? Because if you can't make a life with them, then it doesn't mean anything, and it's not going to work. So I thought I would share that today. I thought that was a very poignant moment in the Virginian episode. If you haven't had a chance to watch any Virginian episodes, do so. It's on the Inspire channel, and of course you can buy them as well. But if you have the Inspire channel, the Virginian does come on, and they literally were on for, oh my goodness, the production went for like 15 years. So there's literally hundreds of episodes. I think they ended up making like 500 episodes. It's a lot, but there definitely are gems, and it's a good show with good characters. So I thought I would share that with you. And now, as you can see, the sun has almost gone down. It's getting a little dark out here. I'll run this for a few seconds. Hopefully you went for your walk already earlier, or maybe you're like me and you decided to go on a late walk too. But here we are, going on our late walk together. Okay, I think this is where I'll leave you. Until next time, bye.